And we are now recording. So this is the February TDXS meeting. John Bonica, K5EC, is going to present our program tonight on artificial intelligence in amateur radio. I have just a few comments to make before we get started. Number one, for the TDXS members, your dues are for 2026 are now due and payable. You can see how to do that on the website through PayPal. Or if you send a check, be sure and send it to that the check be made payable to the Texas DX Society. Um, let's see here. Um, a couple of other things just quickly. The Greater Houston Ham Fest is this weekend. The TDXS is going to have a table there. We're going to be hopefully trying to recruit a new member or two and talk a little bit about what the TDXS does. We're also going to do a little publicity for the Texas QSO party and try to increase its note, its information about it to the general ham public. This weekend is also the ARRL CWDX contest, and I know some of our members are not going to participate in the Ham Fest because they're going sort of full bore into the contest. Particularly Dave K5GN, he was talking about maybe doing the full 48 hours, which would be quite an accomplishment. And then one other thing, just simple thing. I know we have these digital modes which have kind of turned ham radio on its ear over the last few years. Today, I saw that a new mode has been released. It's FT2, and it's twice as fast as FT4. I think the cycle time or the time is 3.5 seconds rather than 7+ seconds. So I don't know anything about it other than that. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how that turns out over the next few days. Okay, John, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
You're going to have to enable sharing because
Okay.
I can't share yet. And also, would you be a co-chair of this meeting in case haven't used Zoom a lot. So if I get into trouble, you can maybe help me out.
So it says that I am allowing one person to share at a time.
Right, but it says sharing is not turned on. You can request sharing for this meeting, so I'm going to send a request.
Okay.
Request has been sent.
All right.
Are we good?
We're good. We should be good.
All right, so now let's see. If I say share, I can share. And what I want to share is this screen with audio. Bingo. And are you seeing that?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
Okay. All right. Let me also just set it up so that I can see what's on the screen as well. How long do you want me to go? I'm going to start the clock. I can, go 30 minutes and open it up for questions, or 45, or I've got enough materials for more than an hour. So you tell me how long.
So I think you should adjust the time to give a fair review of the subject, realizing we don't have a lot of participants tonight, and maybe allow time at the end for some questions.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thanks for inviting me, and good evening, everybody. The talk is about ways to use AI in amateur radio and ways not to do it. About me, I was first licensed in 1967, and a couple of years later, I got my first-class radio telephone license. I was lucky to meet a guy on 40 meters in that time who was the general manager at WBZ in Boston, and he asked me to visit. He heard I got my first class and asked me to visit with his chief engineer, and I did that. And I got a job the year I graduated from high school at WBZ in Boston, and that was a lot of fun. I loved radio, and I mean, I was poor as a church mouse, so I couldn't pay them. I really needed the money for college, but if they'd asked me to pay them to be around a 50 kilowatt class one transmitter and work in a studio, I would have paid. It was a lot of fun. Next summer, I worked at WBZ TV in Boston, and I then worked at WINS radio during the whole time in New York when I was going to undergraduate school at Amherst College and later when I attended law school at Rutgers. I've been practicing law nearly 50 years, mainly in oil and gas practice, representing pipelines, producers, resellers, lenders, bank and non-bank lenders into the energy business. I joined the Texas DX Society in 1993. I was member number 130, and I'm a third generation Sicilian American whose grandparents were all born on this tiny island of Filicudi. You see a picture of it there. It is, about 30 miles north and west of Messina, Sicily. And it is beautiful. It's a World Heritage Site. And I know a lot of you guys have been on D expeditions. I never have been, but if I'm fortunate before uh, I check out, I'd like to do a D expedition there. It is IOTA EU 017, Lipari Islands. And it's a sparsely populated island. There are only 250 full-time inhabitants, and excluding tourists, and they're all my cousins. It has to be that way on a small island. So why this talk? Um, AI is not about replacing amateurs or their operating skill. It's about, for ham radio, it's about augmenting judgment, preparation, and efficiency, and primarily that's off the air. I'm going to talk about what AI is, what it's not, the ways hams are using AI, ethical and regulatory boundaries. The one thing I'm not going to go into is full propeller head mode. And there's a simple reason for that. I'm not qualified to do it. When I was researching this, I realized if you're really going to talk about like digital signal processing, you need to know about linear algebra at scale. And I read some Ricky articles about it, and I didn't understand them at all. So if we need the kind of talk that is going to get into stuff like hidden Markov models and other things, we probably need a guy, former law partner, Sid Leach, K5XI. He's an IP lawyer, very smart guy, and represented a lot of Silicon Valley firms in patent and trademark cases. So he probably does understand this stuff. Sorry, I don't. So, what is AI? Um, it's a way of getting computers to recognize patterns, make predictions, and respond in useful ways by learning from data rather than following just hard-coded rules. And a good way to understand that is to look at the difference between automation, scripts, search, and synthesis, AI. Automation scripts are things like, I could put my image in here too, but I'll do that later. Automation scripts are things like, you go to Log of the World site and you want to upload your most recent contacts. So you take the ADI file and put it in there, and Log of the World just does what it does with it. It does it all always the same way. It finds duplicates. It does whatever it does. It populates the database, but it never really changes what it does. I mean, it's a script that runs, and it's deterministic execution of whatever steps Log of the World does. Google search is a little different. That's find me existing information. And what it'll do is it's a retrieval tool, or it's like a librarian. It'll You put a few words in there like, ARLDX contest, single operator assisted rules, and you'll get links to the rules, PDFs, blog points, forum discussions. But you've got to read those yourself. You got to resolve the contradictions yourself, and you got to draw conclusions. So it's helpful, but it's not AI. What AI does uh, is explains. It goes out. It does some of the stuff that Google does. It goes out to the web or it goes to its own internal database, but it puts all that stuff together. They're interpretive engines. They explain, combine, and contextualize information. So you might ask a question uh, to an AI engine like Claude or ChatGPT or Grok. Do the TDXS and Central Texas DX and Contest Club have members in common? I did that yesterday and it went out there and you got a structured explanation. It looks at the TDX site, it looks at the Central Texas DX site. It sees that they are members in common and it starts talking about activities that they've run together and the fact that uh, there's some cooperation between the groups.
Hmm.
So that's that's the sort of the difference. I put some images on the screen here in the upper left. You'll see AI conceived as an angel, and on the left as some sort of a demon. And I remember back in like 1955, there was an R&B hit called "Devil or Angel." I was just a kid, but Bobby V covered it in 1960. I remember, and the first line was, "Devil or angel, I can't make up my mind which one you are. I'd like to wake up and find." And this isn't a talk about AI generally, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say that there are two aspects of it. I mean, the angel part is that it's a force multiplier for human intelligence. It lowers the barrier to expertise. It accelerates learning. It might make possible longer lives through biomedical advances, new drugs, greater productivity, more leisure, all those good things we want. And in that sense, it's an angel. The devil part, well, there are a lot of things that make it a devil. Number one, the whole thing is based on IP theft. Basically, it's going around grabbing everybody's IP and creating these explanations. It's the same technology that befriended a 14-year-old boy and then advised him to kill himself, and he did. It can be confidently wrong. It can hallucinate. It may create a job apocalypse. And the question is how fast? If it puts people out of jobs really quickly before we can react, this could be different than the AI, than the dot-com boom of 2000. I mean, everybody worried about that, but new jobs were created and it happened slowly enough that it didn't completely dislocate the economy. Some very smart economists do not know whether that's the case with AI. Maybe, it puts everybody out of a job instantly and the pitchforks come out. That could happen. Uh, and in the long term, it's not as smart as people think it's going to be. I mean, some people think that in 5 or 10 years, we're going to have uh, artificial general intelligence, a kind of a super intelligence that can maybe generate enhanced pathogens or create cyber attacks with or without human involvement. Or, it can outpace human oversight in infrastructure, seize weapons, create viruses, all of these things. But we're not going to talk about that tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about ham radio. So here's how you can misuse ham radio. I'm gonna put this uh, demonstration on. Don't do this at home, but here's the big no-no. Here it comes. Good evening, Chat GPT. Can I call you Lionel for this session since you sound like Lionel Richie?
Good evening. Sure, if it makes things more fun, Lionel, it is. Just know I won't be singing hello, though I'm always happy to chat like an old friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Before we go too far, can you all hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Here we go. Well, I want you to simulate a Parks on the Air activation, and you are going to be me, K5EC, okay?
All right, Lionel. John. I'm ready for this simulated POTA adventure. I'll take the role of Hey 5EC. What band of conditions are we imagining, and how would you like to kick it off?
Well, we are imagining a session on 40 meters, and
Got
I'm going to give you specific instructions, and I'm going to pause while giving you those instructions. And if you understand me, just say QSL. Don't say anything else, just QSL, okay?
QSL.
Okay, when I finish giving you instructions, I'll tell you to start the POTA activation, and you will initiate the POTA activation by calling CQ, CQ, CQ. This is K5EC. K5EC at US 2992 Brazos Bend State Park.
QSL.
If one or more stations call you, listen for all of the call signs, then pick one at random and call that station and give that station a random signal report like 5 or 8 or 5, 6. Just say something like 5, 6 in the park. Thank the station for coming back to you and make a pleasant comment like good evening or have a good week coming up ahead, and then say over so the other station will know that it's time for them to talk.
QSL.
The station will give you a signal report and its location and may also make some random comments. If so, you can exchange some small talk with the station.
QSL.
Eventually, the station will say 73. You will thank the station for the QSO, say 73, and then say, QRZ, this is K5EC at Brazos Bend State Park.
QSL.
If no stations answer and there's dead air for 10 seconds, then say, this is K5EC going QRT. If one or more stations answer within 3 seconds, pick one at random and repeat the QSO process as before.
QSL.
Okay, the last thing I'd like you to do is create a little logbook and download it at the end of the session.
QSL.
Finally, if you don't hear anybody call after you've done a QRZ, like for 10 seconds, then say, this is K5EC going QRT.
QSL.
We're ready to go. Start calling CQ and you will hear stations calling you.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is K5EC. K5EC at US 2992, Brazos Bend State Park.
N5DTT, W9LCQ, AJ5F.
W9LCQ, I've got you. You're coming in 5 and 6 in the park. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a great evening. Over.
Thank you much. Name here is Doug in Richmond, Texas. You are 55 here in Richmond. It's really cold out there this evening. I'm wondering if you're in a vehicle or at a picnic table. Be safe out there.
Thanks, Doug. I'm nice and warm in the vehicle, so all good. Appreciate the report. Stay warm yourself out there. 73, QRZ. This is K5EC at Brazos Bend State Park.
N5DTT, AJ5F.
AJ5F, I hear you. You're 5 and 8 in the park. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you've got a nice week ahead. Over.
Thank you. You are 54 here in Galveston, Texas. I understand that the alligators are brumating down there. You can just see their noses, but their bodies are way deep in the water to stay warm. I'm wondering if you've seen any of those down there.
I haven't spotted any gators yet, but I'll keep an eye out for those noses. Thanks for the chat. 73 and take care. QRZ, this is K5EC at Brazos Bend State Park.
N5DTT.
N5DTT, you're back. You're 5 and 5 in the park. Thanks for jumping in again. Hope the rest of your day is great. Over.
You haven't worked me yet, have you?
You're right. I'm just simulating you, so that was just a fun quirk. Let's consider that a fresh QSO. Your signal is still bright. Anything else you'd like to add, or shall we wrap this activation?
Well, I'm curious about the birds down there. I understand when the vegetation is not as thick, it's a great time for birding, and I'm wondering if you've seen anything down there.
I'm imagining we'd see some winter visitors, herons, maybe some hawks, and perhaps a chatty belted kingfisher. In reality, though, Brazos Bend is always a treat for birders, no matter the season.
Great. Well, enjoy yourself down there and be safe. 73s.
73, it's been a pleasure running this little activation with you. If you ever want to imagine another park adventure, just let me know.
Okay. So there are a couple of things. I had fun doing that. You were supposed to go QRT. Yeah, he didn't go QRT. So, I did this a couple of times. I preparing, and let me see. I'm going to change the sharing a little bit on this, so you can actually, I think, see me. So I go to share, and maybe I'll just do it over the shoulder. And well, let's see. Hold on a second. All right. Yeah, you might. Are you actually seeing me live now?
Yes.
Roger.
Good. All right. You see me waving my hand. All right. Um, well, there's a point to that video besides fun, but I thought it was just a I thought it was fun when he didn't go QRT. Well, the first couple of I tried this earlier on, and he didn't write the log. So the next time I did it, I said, "Look, I just really need you to write a log, and I'll give you a blank Excel spreadsheet, and it'll have his RST, my RST, the call sign work, the QTH, and all that. I'm going to upload it and make this easy, but I'm telling you, I'm going to use this video for a presentation to the Texas DX Society, and I don't want you to make us look like idiots. I mean, I want to, and he said, well, yeah, I understand. I didn't do the log this time because I knew uh, it was a simulation. And so I didn't do the log. I said, well, next time I really need you to do the log. And I need you when you don't hear anyone calling you for a few seconds, I need you to go QRT. I said, oh, don't worry about it. I got it down this time. We're going to look great. We're going to sparkle. It's great. So the next time I did it, he not only didn't write the log, but he got confused about having worked N5DTT. He was kind of remembering that he worked maybe another time, and he thought this was the second one. So it's not perfect, but it could be made perfect, and that's the worry, that somebody who knows how to write YAML, or just in a subsequent iteration of this AI software, it's going to get so good that someone could enter a contest and this AI machine would just be tireless and perfect. And it could beat it could beat excellent contest operators like K5GN, because K5GN's got to sleep sometime. AI doesn't have to sleep. And it's got a lot of advantages that I'll talk about in the next slide. The regulatory foundation, what you just saw, and the purpose of it was to tell you that it's illegal as hell. You've got to have immediately responsibility for what's going out there. Part 97 requires a human control operator, and it only allows automation where explicitly allowed. So automated contacts are prohibited. Certain assistance is allowed, but human initiation is required in the context rules. So the context rules sort of reinforce Part 97. Here's the key slide of the whole thing. AI's got to stay off this real-time path. Receive, decide, transmit. And what you just saw is that AI was listening. It was listening for contacts, and it was sort of sorting the pileup. It decided who to answer. It decided when to transmit. It decided what to transmit. I mean, when you've got AI talking about, herons and hawks and chatty-belted kingfishers down at Brazos Bend State Park, you've crossed the line. That's not uh, that's not something that should be happening under Part 97. So anyway, where AI fits and where it doesn't fit. It fits here: research, planning, documentation, learning. Where it really doesn't fit is real-time decoding assistance, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. Automated QSOs without operated control, which you just saw, and AI generating responses while transmitting. Let's talk about prohibited uses. What real-time decoding means is like AI filling in partial calls, predicting exchanges you didn't copy, separating overlapping callers, or deciding when you should transmit. That replaces operator skill, and it violates contest rules, and it also violates Part 97. So, AI could become very capable of inferring, predicting, or filling in information that the operator didn't actually copy. For example, AI might suggest a likely call sign based on partial information, band conditions, signals it heard, because remember, it can be listening up and down the band, and recent spots. It's got the information about the spots. So it processes all that, and it hears a call like W5T, okay, but it's already heard W5OT up the band. It knows that it's in the contest, and it knows it's around. So what's it going to guess? OT, and it's probably going to be right. That is no longer simple demodulation. That's probabilistic inference. And yes, can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay, I just heard somebody say hello. So that's probabilistic inference, and it replaces human skill, and that's not what we ought to be doing.
Yeah, I think that's probably okay.
All right. So,
okay.
Hey, Scott. Scott. Scott, this is Roby. Can you mute your mic, please? Go ahead, John.
I think he may not be hearing. So these are the Part 97 rules. I'm not going to really get in. Control operators got to have immediate proper control of the station. And the important thing is the control operator is defined as a person. It's not a computer or AI or anything. It's the person named. So you're responsible. And so what is allowed, we have had computers controlling a station's functions like digital modes, but that's deterministic. Beacons, remote operations, there are special rules for those. But a licensed human's always got to be designated as the control operator. And the system's got to be capable of being shut down or corrected if it misfunctions. So I've talked about what you shouldn't do. Here's what you can do. And here are the AI use cases that I've found. There may be more, like text to speech, speech to text. I saw something about a guy who was getting foreign broadcast from Russia and having it translated simultaneously on the screen. That's probably an interesting thing. Radio propagation prediction. I won't go down this list because the subsequent slides will touch on all of these. If you were to call DX Engineering or Ham Radio Outlet and ask them, what AI toys they have that are new and fun, I think they'll tell you they don't have any, because Yaesu, ICOM, and Kenwood and all the traditional manufacturers haven't yet released mainstream transceivers with built-in neural engines. And probably the reason why they haven't is that the computing power and the energy needs are more than what embedded radio hardware typically supports. I'll show you the exception to that rule on the next slide, because there's a company up in Philadelphia called Deep Wave that has built tools that use artificial intelligence to understand radio and wireless signals. So this is their Air 7301. It's a specialized AI-enabled platform for government and business. They don't publicize how much they sell this for, but I have heard that it sells for around $20,000 to $30,000 per unit. And it runs AI modules right on the hardware of the receiver to analyze signals in real time. So, $20,000 to $30,000 is a lot of money right now, but remember, handheld calculators before they were $10 were hundreds of dollars. So it's possible that this or something like this would become affordable in the future. Who would buy this? Like defense and government agencies would be typical buyers. Their intelligence agencies, their spectrum monitoring authorities, and they would probably use it for automatic signal classification to identify unknown transmitters, drone detection via RF signatures, spectrum surveillance, electronic warfare research. Telecom and wireless infrastructure companies might, for example, use it in their 5G and 6G research labs. They might use it to detect interference in cellular networks. Universities and research labs probably use it for RF engineering departments. Aerospace and drone companies. I mean, you'd love to have this in Kyiv because you can tell, where the drones are and where they're coming from. They can RF fingerprint the drones. They can do passive detection of control links and that sort of thing. So, it's an interesting thing. One of the ways that this might relate to ham radio, and I'm a little concerned about this, is actually they're doing a lot of talking about dynamic spectrum allocation. Now, that typically isn't applied to amateur radio. We have our bands. I mean, except for the shared use band on 5 megahertz, our bands have been generally fixed allocations. But there are some thoughts among regulators that shared and secondary frameworks are they want to move toward that because it makes the band sharing more effective. So the idea would be if you could use something like the 7301 to recognize existing usage patterns, you would know not only how busy, the band is right now, but maybe how busy it's going to be 5 hours from now. And if you set up a dynamic spectrum allocation based on a long-term observation of uses, maybe you say something like, hams can use half of this band during these hours, but then they can use the entire band during the remaining hours. I would hate to see that happen to ham radio because I think the next step in that would be that our transceivers would have to follow the dynamic spectrum policy, and that might mean that they block off portions of the band during certain times, which might also mean that the rigs become more expensive, and that might make it more difficult and expensive for newcomers to enter the hobby. So, it's something that regulators are talking about out there, whether it happens or not. But anyway, this is state of the art stuff. Let's talk about text to speech. Probably you guys have heard about 11 Labs because they're a firm that does a lot of work in AI text to speech. In fact, if you get the Atlantic Monthly or the New Yorker, a lot of those articles have a little place on the top where you can click and you can actually have the article read to you by 11 Labs using an AI voice. You can subscribe at this URL here, https 11 Labs. It's $5 a month, and you can create files. You can create AI files. Here's a sample file that comes from AI from 11 Labs. Let's see if I can make it play. Here it is.
CQ contest from Zulu Fox 1 Victor Echo.
The problem with text to speech this way is that it requires the user to pre-record the audio clips, and then the audio clips can't be changed on the fly. And if you wanted audio clips that covered all the call signs in the entire super check partial list, that might cost about $500 to do. But there's a better way. And it was discussed in an article in the QAX magazine for January and this month, January, February 2026. For those of you who don't know, QEX is the technical journal of the American Radio Relay League. And this fellow Weissman, a retired engineer who's now retired to Madeira Island, created this voice-based synthesizer system. And it basically just consists of two components. One is a Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 megabytes of RAM on it. And the other part is a circuit that allows the microphone to pass through to your rig when you're not using the voice keyer, but when you use the voice keyer, the output of the Raspberry Pi goes to your rig. And his second circuit, not the Raspberry Pi circuit, but the other circuit that he devised that does the switching, also keeps the volume the same between the output of the Raspberry Pi and the microphone. This is the GUI to the which was written by John Wiseman, and I started by copying the GUI out of QEX, but it was extremely blurry. You wouldn't have been able to see anything. And I got concerned about copyright restriction, even though I think it's fair use because I'm giving fair attribution and it's not much of the article. But anyway, I redid there were a lot more things on this side in QEX. But I think this is enough of the GUI to tell you what's going on and how to use it. And so here are the main elements. Text input buffers. If you type in here anything like you are hearing speech from the W3J synthesizer and click this, you'll hear it spoken in natural language. This next one transmits in phonetics anything that's here. So if you click this button, you'll hear Kilo 5 Echo Charlie. This next one, this populates the first transmit button on the right while the program is running. So it's not persistent. If you type anything here like, 73s and good luck, that will become the first thing that shows up as a pre-programmed transmission here. So all you have to do is click on that and it'll say 73s and good luck. But when you turn it off, this disappears. One of the cool things about this is, and then the last thing that I wanted to show you is the voice options, which is you have several voices that it can use, male and female, and several speeds, 2x, normal, and half speed. See, I sort of changed. He had his own things. My name is John, QTH is Houston, Texas. My antenna is 10-meter GXP, 8/8/8/8. That's in my dreams, rotating tower. But anyway, I'm hearing a little noise in the background.
John, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So this looks very familiar or very similar to what is now implemented in N1MM. And when you type in, like if I copy your call, if I copy K5EC, then then the program and hit enter, the program will respond with K5EC and the appropriate text, whatever, or the appropriate information, whatever it is for the contest.
But is it a mechanical voice or is it a natural voice?
So it like I said, it looks almost exactly like what you're describing here because you've got different different voices that you can choose from and different speeds. Now that's about all I know about it. I'm not dug into it very deeply, but it's been a really hot topic on the.
But
Uh,
what does it sound like? Does it sound like a natural voice? Because this is a natural voice. This is really based on AI. It doesn't sound like what you're talking about is based on AI. Because
so
this guy says the voice models used in this project were generated by training actual recorded voices using machine learning, a subset of artificial intelligence. So part of the AI in this thing was done when the model was created, and you download that. But then AI is going on in the box in the Raspberry Pi. That's why it needs 8 gig, because this is AI inference, not training. When the Raspberry Pi generates speech, text input is parsed. The trained neural TTS model runs locally. The model performs forward propagation through neural layers. It predicts waveform and so on. And it sounds, it has what they call prosody. It's the pattern of pitch, timing, stress, and rhythm that gives speech its natural flow and expressive meaning. And I don't think you can do that without AI. So I don't know what this thing sounds like. I've never been exposed to it, but it might sound more like a computer voice than a, a human
okay, so
voice.
my comment on that is I think I've heard it a few times
Uh,
because I've not really dug in this, and it sounds very, very human.
does it?
Yes.
Okay. Hmm.
And these are modules that you load onto your computer, in the program.
Hmm.
But it's very similar. So I won't take up any more time on that. It's just something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think where it make the call signs may sound human because they're just coming out, but what it probably doesn't do is this. And if you were voice impaired, for example, you had some sort of problem with your larynx, you could have a complete QSO with this thing, and it would sound natural because
CQ,
you just
CQ, CQ. This is KG5YCU. Calling net stations.
who is that?
Sorry, I didn't realize my speaker was attached to my phone. This
Okay.
is KG5YCU. Sorry about
Hey,
that.
Rich.
I do have actually the module for that installed for the CQ call out for N1MM.
Uh-huh. It does sound sort of computer. Yeah, you do it again.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is KG5YCU. Calling net stations.
Yeah, that sounds like a computer to me.
Okay.
Anyway,
there,
yeah, the thing is that the user can type in text on the keyboard and immediately convert it to live audio with the synthesizer. And the thing that's really cool, I think about this, the more I think about it, it preserves mic through operation. There are no recordings. All the audio is generated on demand in real time. There are no cloud services or external dependencies. So everything runs locally on the Raspberry Pi and with Piper TTS. The results don't vary due to internet latency or service outages. And a ham can assemble this interface module, load the software, and expect it to work without any complicated tuning or undocumented tweaks or reliance on the author's personal setup. The author is now working on doing it he's going to create a model with his own voice. And since he lives in Madeira and is learning Portuguese, he's going to have it done in Portuguese as well. I had ChatGPT estimate the cost of the parts on this thing, and if you exclude the cost of a 4K monitor, which you need, it'd be about $190 to $240 for the parts. So it's a pretty cool thing, I think. Anyway, um, what else can ChatGPT do? Antenna analysis and construction. It's pretty cool. Uh, you know, you I've asked it how the radiation patterns of my delta loop, Yates-2 test, 120, and step IR, crank IR compare, let's say, on 40 meters. It gives very good answers. That I've told it I'm at a Parks on the Air and I forgot all my antennas, but I do have a toolbox, trees, wire. What can I construct? And it'll tell me the exact dimensions of a dipole or of an end-fed antenna. One thing that really surprised me is this question down here. How efficient is a Yaesu ATAS 120A mobile tunable antenna on 40 meters if it's mounted on a Ford F-150 that's well bonded? And it ran through all the calculations, talks about the radiation resistance of the vertical antenna, talks about the resistance of the loading coil, and it comes up with an answer that if you're running 100 watts from the transceiver, something like 95 to 99 watts gets turned into heat, mostly at the loading coil, and only about 1 to 5 watts gets radiated. So that was pretty surprising to me. So I'm, when I'm in my truck on 40 meters, I'm always running QRP, whether I think I am or not. I mean, I'm radiating with about a watt of power. That was a surprise. Next slide. Signal processing and noise reduction. There is a site called RM Noise, and you can log in there and create an account, and you download some software. They're building servers in a lot of places in the world, and when you download the software, you get this little graphical user interface here. And you can use the AI-powered noise reduction by routing your radio audio into your PC sound card. RM Noise sends the noisy audio to an AI server. The server applies AI models to suppress the noise, and it outputs cleaner audio back to the speakers and headphone in real time. So if you want to hear what this is what you'd see on your screen if you downloaded it. And I'm gonna go here to the noisy part.
Well, we don't have to make contact ST8, I don't think. As long as we contacted on 6 meters, we're at 50.130 now. This black
That's the clean.
go from voice to ST8 without dropping the WSJT range, but that's the way it is.
That's pretty. Were you able to hear all that?
Yes.
Roger.
Yeah, that's pretty dramatic. I mean, I have noise reduction on my FT-DX10, but it's nothing like that. That is, the only drawback is the hassle of, having to connect it to something that goes, boy, this is moving on its own. I don't know why it's doing that. Radio propagation prediction. Most of what we see on the web right now is like BoaCap and HamCap. All of these things are based on traditional physics-based models, not AI. But they are working on some of those things, and you can still get information about propagation if you use something like ChatGPT or any of the other. You can ask it questions like summarize 20-year trends for 15 meters during declining solar cycles. How is propagation on 20 meters today? When are the paths on high-frequency ham bands likely to be open to Lakshadweep Island today and tomorrow? I asked that very question a couple of days ago, and I got a very detailed answer that I followed, and I worked Lakshadweep yesterday. So that was pretty cool. AI is pretty good as a lab partner looking at circuits. And I got this little circuit here. And what kind of a circuit is this? Ask AI. It'll tell you. Low side NPN transistor switch. LED is the load. Base resistor controls conduction. That's the LED. Now, when the circuit is on, how does current flow? AI's answer, battery through the LED resistor to the LED transistor, ground. Small base current here enables larger collector current. Why are there two resistors? LED resistor, this one here, limits current. Doesn't blow out the LED. Base resistor protects the transistor, ensures predictable behavior. What happens if the base resistor is reduced? AI will tell you more base current, earlier saturation, minimal LED, and possibly transistor stress. You know, when I first saw these things, if the LED doesn't light, what could be the problems? Here they are. The first time I saw, and you know, AI will do this with more complicated. So I started with a really simple one here, just for the sake of simplicity of the. How do I? Does anybody know how I stop this from automatically moving? I want to control it, but I can't. Anyway, the you know, you get the impression when you're using AI like this that there's this little homunculus, this little man back there, and you know, that's answering all these questions. But I think the way it does it is it's probably seen this circuit before, and it's probably seen questions and answers about circuits, and it is very it tends to be very accurate. If you ask it a question about what happens if I open up this resistor, it'll tell you that the LED won't work and current won't flow. It's pretty impressive. Morse code decoders, humans. Well, there are Morse code decoders on a lot of rigs these days. Mine has one, the FTDX10, and it works pretty well if the code is fast and it's machine sent. But humans definitely have the edge where there's irregular timing. But my prediction is that AI, a lot of people are working on this, and AI is going to get better and better because that's what AI does. It recognizes patterns. And, if the dits and the DAWs are not spaced just right, a DAW is not just 3 times faster, or the distance between words is wrong, existing Morse code decoders have a hard time. I think as AI progresses, it may surpass even expert operators. And one of the things that we do when we receive Morse code, let's say in a contest, is we do really well if we know what's coming. For example, if we know that we're expecting a signal report and a state or something like that, and we know we have a K8 has called us, and the first thing we hear is, oh, we expect H is the next thing. AI, I think, will get to a point where it can do some of that as well. And I just expect to see really good things in decoders. I'm going to tell you real quick, I used AI before the Texas QSO party because I knew I wanted to get at county lines. So I asked, tell me all the points where 2-3 counties meet. And the ChatGPT said, well, I can't tell you that. I need a certain file. You got to get this shape file called GeoJSON. I'll tell you where to get it, upload it, and I'll tell you where all the points are with 2, 3, or 4. So I did that. And ChatGPT thought about it for about 6 or 10 minutes. And then it finally said, "No, this is too hard. I can't do it." So I said, "Okay, well, let's just go to 100 miles from my home. I'll give you the GeoJSON file again, and you figure it out." And it did that. But then I realized, under the rules of the Texas QSO party, you have to have visual contact with the county line. So I ran the inquiry again. I said, not only do I want these results to be within 100 miles of my home, but they've got to be within like 1,000 feet of a public road because I got to see the sign. So ChatGPT comes up with this. The coordinates, whether it's 4 points or 3 points, and the counties involved. And I got interested in this particular one here because it was 4 counties: Brazos, Leon, Madison, and Robertson. And this one here, Brazoria, Matagorda, and Wharton. So that one's down here. this one and this one here. This is the 4 counties. This is 3 counties. It includes Fort Bend. And this one is up by Plum Creek. So I go to Plum Creek. It's close enough. And there's no sign on the road. And I get back to where the counties come together and I see something like this. And I say, nah, I'm not going to mess with this. I mean, self-help remedies, Second Amendment. Nah, I'm not going to get arrested for this. So then I try the other one. I get this from Google, and I see that right where the counties, the 4 counties come together, I can go under this bridge. So I do. I come down here and I operate from here. Here's the Madison County sign up here. It's actually on a pole. It doesn't look like this, but I couldn't get AI to generate it. And then I found out, darn, I can't use APRS. I can't use my phone. I can't spot myself on the DX clusters. I can't spot myself on county hunters. This is a nightmare. I should have done one more thing and asked ChatGPT to take into account Verizon Wireless's network, because if I'd known that this was going to be, I was going to be incommunicado like a troll under a bridge, I would have probably either selected another point or I would have brought along an extender. But anyway, that's what happened to me there. After the Texas QSO party, I asked it to evaluate my strategy, and it did. It looked at my logs and it said, it did the easy stuff, number of QSOs, locations, QSO rate. It figured all that out. But this thing keeps changing. But it initially it analyzed the log through county, and it told me, oh no, I was on 40 meters too much. I should have been on 10 meters, getting more counties. But then I said, hey, wait a minute, ChatGPT, I thought you read the rules. Counties are not the only multiplier that, there's for a Texas station, DXCC entities, states, and provinces in Canada are also multipliers. So then it says, oh yeah, you're right. You could have used those, and also, it was wrong about the counties being the multipliers. I should move to 10 and 15 because 10 and 15 will skip over a lot of Texas. So it was not very helpful, but it did change its view. I've done another thing. This thing is sort of, it keeps switching, and let me see if I can get it to stop moving. Because it keeps switching slightly. Let me just see if I hit that. Yeah, there we go. One of the things that I've done to increase my DXCC, I mean, I'm sort of blow hot and cold on DXCC. And I got my first DXCC, my first 100 countries in 1969. But by last December, I was only up to like 297. So I got less than 200 in 50 years, or close to 50 years, or more than 50 years, I guess. So what I did, what I used to do is I would take the award matrix from Log of the World and just, have a hard copy of it. And if I heard a station, then I'd look at that matrix and figure out whether it was a new one for me or not. But that was kind of a pain in the neck. And so a lot of times when I would hear a country that I thought I hadn't worked, I'd just blow it off and say, I'm not going to mess with it. But what I did was I used ChatGPT. What I did was created a matrix from Log of the World and told it that ignore deleted countries and just tell me, make a list of all the countries that I have not worked that do not have an X next to them on mixed. So ChatGPT did create this spreadsheet, and I sorted it alphabetically so that I would know what countries I needed. So here they are. Here it is by country name. Here it is by prefix. And I started out, when I started, there were 65 on this list. Now there's 45. 2 months later, there's 45. And here are the ones I've worked in those 2 months. So in other words, I've gotten about 20 countries in 2 months, which is more than 10% of the countries I got in the last 50 years since I first got my DXCC in 1969. So, is this a brilliant application of AI? No. But did it motivate me by having this little chart? Did it did it make me say, hey, look, I got the roadmap now. All I have to do is follow it. And what I did was I just took all these countries, put it in Ham Alerts, which is um, an online um, uh, tool that you tell it what countries you need, and it will send you triggers when those countries are spotted either on PSK or in a DX cluster. So I've been getting those spots, and I'll tell you how uh, faulty your memory can be, because when I heard Desiceo last month, my memory said, oh, yeah, I worked that in 88 or 90 or whatever. I don't really need that one. But then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm getting a spot from DX cluster. So maybe I did work it and I got the card somewhere and I never submitted it. But for some reason, ChatGPT tells me I still need it and I'm still getting these alerts. So I got on there and worked it, got the confirmation, and it went from here to there. This other part here is just the DX uh, the expeditions that I need, and this one is Ogasawara. That's the only one that I've got on the chart right now. We've been at it for almost an hour, and I've left very little time for discussion. So I'm gonna quit right now, and entertain any questions or whatever. I'm sorry I went so long.
It's okay. I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah,
Like you're looking for DXCC countries.
right.
On Monday, I asked Perplexity what I needed to do in order to beat K5GN in the upcoming CWDX contest. And
Yeah,
it gave a rather lengthy description of operating practices and station capabilities and the like that someone would need to best Dave. And I sent that information to Dave and said, "Hey, I got this. What do you think?" And his response back to me was, "This is very good. There are a few obvious errors," and he pointed those out. And there was for example, it had something about uh, running certain bands at the wrong time of the day, that kind of thing. It was quite beneficial. Where I
yeah,
use where I use AI in a very simplistic way is when to answer questions about setup of equipment and modes and a variety of things. It will give me instructions of how to set up FT8 on some radio that I've never heard of before, and it goes
right.
to the those
Yeah,
kinds of things are very and asking it uh, questions about antenna modeling, which I do quite a bit of. It
right.
assists me in doing that. So to me, it's a very powerful uh, assistant. Say that.
It is. It really is. And also it's very patient. I get on Facebook and there's a group for the FTDX 10 users, and people ask all kinds of questions and they submit pictures of the front of their rig because they've either got some strange thing on there or the rig isn't working right. So they send in a picture. And one of the things that invariably happens is some wise guy will say, read the manual. Okay. So that's not too helpful. But somebody else comes up with the answer. And I think what ChatGPT does probably is it reads things like the answers that come on those, or it also probably finds them on Reddit. And so when it's coming up with answers for specific software or whatever, it's probably getting that from pictures and questions that it's seen before. And the good thing about it is that there's no wise guy telling you if you ask AI, as Rick Heller pointed out, AI is very polite. It's like a very nice, assistant that wants to help you all the time and doesn't give you wise comments like read the manual.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can find out the attribution of the information that it's synthesizing?
Yes, it tells you what it's synthesizing. For example, if you use ChatGPT, as it's searching the net, it's showing you all the sites it's hitting. And then when it gives you an answer, there's like a little uh, box that will say something like Reddit. And you click on that and it takes you to the exact spot in Reddit found the information that for the answer. It shows you the actual answer, the actual text that it quoted.
The source, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Now, bad experiences too. In fact, there are a couple of slides because I was running out of time. I didn't show them, but I use remote ham radio quite a bit, and I this. So it said, oh well, where the DX station's call sign, just go over to the right and hit the little diamond, and there's a drop down list, and you can just spot it. So I tried that, and diamond there was no drop down list, and after a few weeks I forgot about it, and I asked the question again. So it came up with another answer. We'll get on the DX page and do this. And I tried that, and the stuff that it was telling me was supposed to be there wasn't there. And I finally wrote to the people at who run remote ham radio, and they said, well, that's a very difficult thing to do because people are in different locations. And so we finally decided we weren't going to do it at all. So, twice ChatGPT came up with a very convincing answer. It was very nice. It was polite, as Rick Keller says, but both answers were wrong, but dead wrong. There.
That's that's really kind of human because whenever you ask your buddy who you think knows a whole lot about a solution to the problem and he gives you a very dedicated, very firm answer about what the cause is and what the solution is, and he's dead wrong, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So a couple of questions or a question about the actual connecting to AI. Do you use any paid versions, or do you use just the ones that are available with browsers?
Page that shows me which one I'm using. It's basically and they're all paid. And when I started out, when I started using ChatGPT, I had like a version that was $20 a month. That's the one that crashed when to tell me points counties or 3 counties came together, state of Texas. I am now using, just for a short time, just to try it out, the $200 a month version of that. And I think if I'd ask a question, I think it processes faster and it does more complex problems. But those are the ones I'm using right now.
Okay.
I'm using about 6 different ones, and they're all, they have strengths and weaknesses. I think Gemini, which is Google's, is really good if you want to come up with images.
Actually, they're pretty pricey though.
Yeah, it could be, but they don't have to be. I mean, I have a friend up in now using and all that stuff, and he's making about $600 a day
Wow.
just messing with this stuff, getting in and out on trades. I hope he doesn't hurt himself.
Yeah, as a question, the use of AI for helping DXers with flex radios, can decode the whole spectrum.
Mhm.
Is there a way of coupling AI to decode the whole spectrum, looking for both CW and sideband, and compare those to your need list, and you get a text on your cell phone that says, "Get to the radio, Bob."
Yeah, well, I'm sure that deep wave thing that I showed you that has it's the $20,000 has AI right on the machine can do it. I'm not aware. I mean, I don't know. It probably can be done where you can take the output of an S and send it um, for processing on an AI module, but I don't know how to do that. I haven't heard how to do that, but I'm sure that probably can be done. I mean, if they can do it
I'm
all
sure it'd
in
be
one box,
helpful.
yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe something. How about telling the AI a whole bunch of them, and even though they might be looking at Japanese spots, at least the station's on the air, and propagation might come to Texas. But the question is, how about monitoring all these DX net clusters, and training AI to go after your need list and give you an alert? That seems to me might be more realistic.
Yeah, and I think that's probably quite doable. I don't know anybody who's doing it exactly, but as I said, I'm using this uh, service called um, God, about right now. What is,
You've got JT alerts and whatnot. A lot of people use that.
yeah, no, I'm using a thing called Ham Alerts. And Ham Alerts just looks at, I don't know exactly which DX cluster it looks at, but it looks at DX clusters and it looks at PSK spots. And you set up the triggers inside that. And once it hears something that corresponds to one of your triggers, it'll send you, it'll send a message, an app. And so I'm sure there are other ways to do that, but that's how I've been doing it.
Well, one way that can be accomplished is depending on which logging program you use. The one I use monitors 5 different clusters and compares the spots that come across those clusters against my own, my real live log, and gives me an alert on the computer screen. It will also send a text message if you configure it to do so, so that you can be alerted that there's a specific station that you're looking for is on, and what frequency or what band it's on, what boat it's on. But that's all scripted. That's not AI in any shape, form, or fashion. And the thing that's
Right.
neat about it is it's using your live log. So if you go to LOTW and you get a confirmation for Desecheo, let's say, and then you will no longer, immediately after that, you will no longer get that alert telling you that Desasheo is one that you need. Interesting.
Yeah, but you've got to have, in other words, what about legacy contacts that were before you that logging program? It might not take account of them, right?
It will take account of anything that you have credit for in
I see.
any shape, form, or fashion. QSL card, LOTW, those kinds of things. If you have been granted credit for it, it will ignore it.
I see.
I have a hardware question.
Yeah.
If you have a computer that says it's AI enabled, what does that mean?
I didn't hear the question.
If you have a that says it's AI enabled, what does that mean? The hardware is AI enabled.
I'm not sure what that means.
I think I can help in that one. There are certain chipsets that are actually have the algorithms for AI chips. Instead of using a part of your computer's processor and all of the other things it's doing, it can actually offload some of that workload to a chip for AI. It will actually do all the AI, send it back to the rest of the computer, so it's not overloading the rest of the system.
Okay, look at all the math chips. Okay. Thank you.
And John, if you don't mind, I'd like to comment on I don't remember the gentleman that was asking about the listening for the different call signs on the band.
Mm-hmm.
There are working actually there are groups that are working on accessories for the G90. Because of G90's functionality and some of the way it works and its open sourceness, it will actually watch G90's waterfall, find the strong signals, listen to it for those call signs, and they are trying to log what's going on those different frequencies, so you who's on the frequency too. That is one option, and I'm sure that it is going to be all open source. I'm sure they'll expand on that, allow you to either send alerts or things like that, like everything else does through every other app on the planet.
The thing that's sort of scary, I mean, going back to the demonstration I did at the early part, I mean, the ChatGPT made some mistakes on that Parks on the Air thing, but I can see we're very shortly, AI is going to be so good at content that it will be for human operators to keep up, simply because it's tireless. It's going to be very accurate, and it's going to have these human voices that able to tell whether you're dealing with a machine or you. I mean, it's going to be so. It's illegal, it's unethical, and everything, but it's going to be really easy to do.
Well, that's actually one of the arguments we're making, even on the DMR side. You were talking about the voice sounding kind of robotic. For free, there is actually, and I'll play the one that we've been hearing lately, of foreign countries coming in sounding like other countries.
CQ, this is KG5 by CU Kilo Golf 5 Yankee Charlie Uniform calling Field Day CQ.
And that voice, slowed down, sounds like real close to what you would normally hear on the radio. And DMR is starting to use the DMR because of the way it is to start calling out different locations of things. One of the fears we have actually in Field Day, I'm watching these DMR guys, you have to be in 1,000 feet, but I can throw if I've got AI and all this stuff going on now I can take my going through the internet. Now I can start broadcasting. We don't know what's going on, and the competition is going to be lost. So that is one fear there is out there, and the voices that are absolutely open. You don't even have to use chat or AI. There's options that are absolutely open source free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've been at this almost, about an hour and 20 minutes? Other questions, comments? Okay, John, I certainly appreciate it. I learned a lot. It's really a good, really will spur more activity on my part for sure.
Super deal.
Okay, gentlemen,
Thank you,
remember,
John. Great presentation.
go ahead.
I was just thanking John for a great presentation.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for having me, folks.
Okay, remember, we got the DX contest this weekend. We got the Greater Houston Ham Fest. Lots of things going on. We got a couple of DXpeditions, the AU7RS and Lac Shadweep. We got Desasheo still going to be on for a few more days. And from what I'm hearing, in about the end of the month, we should have Bouvet back on the air. Okay, thanks, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, John. Robbie, I hope to see you tomorrow. I'll be out there, and hopefully we'll sit down and have a little conversation, see what we can do too.
Okay, great.